Hey guys, welcome back to another video where we will introduce you to machine learning model Foundry, which has been a much anticipated feature for AgilePoint NX version 10 release. Previously, in version 9, we introduced a powerful component, the AI control tower. This lightweight process overlay has already made waves as it has empowered our customers to take their AI pilots into production on their very first try and act as a bridge between probabilistic AI models, whether it is based on LLMs, machine learning models, vision models, and the determinism that the LOB systems and enterprises alike crave. However, there was one challenge that we saw our customers might face in their AI journey, which was if I want the dynamic and self-healing capabilities of the control tower, but how do I get started by creating an AI model itself? Today, that question has been answered with machine learning model Foundry. In this video, I'll show you how AgilePoint takes the rich context it has already captured for you and it turns it into your own personalized machine learning model built, trained, and continuously improving with zero data science overhead. We are introducing this capability for AWS SageMaker as a machine learning platform, but we plan to introduce the same in future for other machine learning platforms as well. So let's look at this feature in action. I'm in my AgilePoint environment, which is on version 10. And I'm going to navigate to a process model over here. The application I'm going to pick as a use case to showcase this feature is a college enrollment process where a student comes in, he submits a new request, and from that point on, a typical process would be it goes to HOD approval, and if HOD approves it, goes to Dean approval, and if Dean approves it, student is notified, and if it is rejected, it goes through the rejection notification email path. Now this is obviously a more streamlined or minified version of the college enrollment process. A real one would have a lot more steps. I've minified it so that we concentrate on the scenario itself of building the machine learning model around it. Now, if you look at this process right now, it is highly inefficient because 100,000 applications can come in and maybe the acceptance rate is only 3 or 4%, and all of them have to go through HOD approval and Dean approval. If it is not a good candidate, it should be auto rejected. If it is a good candidate, highly likely to be selected, it can directly go to Dean for approval instead of waiting for HOD to approve. So we are going to streamline this. Now you have seen me use the same scenario in past showing the AI control tower capabilities and where I went into the AWS SageMaker environment and created the machine learning model from there. Now a lot of us might not know how to create the machine learning model in AWS SageMaker. We are not data scientists perhaps, right? Or AI developers. So instead of doing that, now what AgilePoint has done is it has made it easier where from within AgilePoint itself, you can, along with the data, push the instructions to auto-generate and keep retraining the AI model as you collect more data. And we are going to see that feature live in action now. So I'm going to hover over this ML and AI menu option over here and select ML Model Foundry. Now it is going to give me some instructions on how to get started. There are mainly three kind of models which can be generated as of now. A binary prediction. So there can be only two values, either true, false, yes, no, approve, reject kind of thing. A multi-class prediction or a numeric prediction. For today's demo, I'm going to stick to binary prediction. And it is also telling me some of the prerequisites. I need a AWS SageMaker account, at least 500 records to train my machine learning model, and data entity has to be used as the primary data source of an app. So this works only for applications which have data entity as the primary data source so that we can take that captured context and pass it on to the machine learning model. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. Next, it is going to ask me, okay, which machine learning model do you want to add? So I'm going to add a prediction model. At this point of time, it has not selected the problem type. We are going to see how that changes. So I'm going to go ahead and enter some name. I'm going to just call it college enroll. The model will be created by the logged in user. Right now, if you hover over the status, it has not been configured. And I'm going to go ahead and click configure button over here. Now it is going to ask me which field do I want to predict. I can only select one field which I want to predict, and it is going to show me all the fields from within my data entity. and the one I want to predict is eligibility. Now it has immediately identified that this is looking like a binary classification or prediction model, because there are only two possible values, true and false, and that's why it's selected binary classification prediction model. Next, it is going to ask me which fields should it be dependent on, which field should drive the eligibility criteria. So I'm going to go ahead and select some of them. I'm going to say maybe family income would be one of them. Grade in 12th class, grade in 10th class. And while I'm doing it, as you can see, it is selecting whether I want to ignore the rows which have null values for these fields. And I'm going to, by default, it is selected. I can always turn it off. I'm going to go ahead and select few other things. I'm going to just select year, course, country, and college. Let's go ahead and click next. Next, it is going to ask me, do I want to further filter it down? Maybe I want to consider only records where country equal to USA. So I can add those filters over here. I can select the field and I can say country equal to USA. I'm going to say select all records. Go ahead and click next. Now it is going to show me a preview of first 50 records so that I can see what kind of records I'm going to be using for training my machine learning model. So it is showing me those values over here. Everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and click next. Next, it is going to ask me, where do I want to export my training data to? And I'm going to select my AWS access token, which my admin might have created or I might have created in the environment. A bucket. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and select one of the buckets over here, which I created for the SageMaker demo. For prefix of my machine learning model, I'm going to leave it to college enroll. Now what I'm also specifying at the same time is keep 25% of data to test the model and 75% to train the model itself. Now at this point of time, I could say I want to also build and deploy the machine learning prediction model, or maybe I'm interested in data. I don't want a machine learning model to be created. I can turn this toggle switch off, and over here I can specify that how frequently a data set would be exported to my AWS S3 bucket. Now there might be a scenario where you have some AI developers already in your organization, and they will say that, you know what, we want to create the machine learning model ourselves in AWS. All we need is the data, and that's what this service is doing. So you can say, I just want to give you the data, or I want to give both the data as well as build the model. So if I selected only to give the data, I can specify, I can turn this switch on, I can specify regenerate the data set every 30 days or whatever time period I want to specify, and if the data grows by 10%, and I can say in terms of percentage or number of records as well. So depending on how I want to specify my regeneration schedule. Now in my case, I'm going to go ahead and specify that I want to actually generate the machine learning model as well. So I'm going to turn that off and turn this back on. Now next step is an optional step. It is asking me, while it is creating the machine learning model, it can make it easier for you to configure your AI control towers. If you provide the variable mappings where you want to store the return results, it will automate a lot of that process. Now again, as it says, it is optional. However, in my case, I did create a couple of variables over here. The first one is called label. It is going to store this variable is going to store the label of the prediction being sent by machine learning model, and the eligibility score will have the probability over here. We'll go ahead and click next. Because I said I want to generate a machine learning model, it is telling me where do I want to create it. So I'm going to select my AWS token. Again, it is going to use this as the prefix, college enroll. For ARN, I need to select the one which has been enabled for me when I enable the Amazon SageMaker in my account. So there is a ARN which is created called Amazon SageMaker execution role. That's the one I need to select. If I wanted to notify a particular user after the machine learning model is created, I can select that user. In my case, I'm going to select John Smith. And again, if I want to continuously retrain my machine learning model, I can turn it on. I can say regeneration schedule for prediction model is every 30 days. If a record set grows by 10%, I want to trigger the retraining. If it is less than 10%, it will just skip it this time and wait for the next 30 days. I'm going to go ahead and click generate. Now at this point of time, if you see over here, the status has changed to created. And if I navigate to my AWS account over here and go to SageMaker, and under SageMaker, if I scroll down to data preparation, processing jobs, so you can see some of the jobs have been submitted. The prefix is college enroll, which I entered over there, and they have been started a couple of minutes back, some of them. There are around 10 jobs which have been started. And what AWS is going to do is it is going to take all that training data and run it against these 10 different outcomes and see which is the best model. And once it has selected the best model, AgilePoint behind the scene will trigger the creation of the endpoints. Now this particular part might take around 10 minutes. So I'm going to come back once this is done. Okay, so we are back, and as you can see, it took around 5 minutes for most of these models to be trained, and all of these 10 jobs, they are completed now. And what AWS SageMaker will do is, out of the 10 runs it created, it is going to send back the best selected model information to AgilePoint, and AgilePoint is going to go ahead and start the deployment. Now, in the meantime, if you go back to the machine learning model Foundry dialog over here, you can see the status has changed to deployment in progress. This takes around 10 minutes or so again. So I'm going to pause the video and come back once it is deployed. Okay, so we are back around after 10 to 15 minutes, and we would have received an email. The person who was supposed to be notified would have received this email with all the details. So if I open this email in a bigger window, you can see it gave me all the deployment status. It says configuration name is college enrollment, model type is binary, target field was eligibility, it's ready to use, the build status is successful, and it is giving me some internal information. It's saying here is the model ID. The next scheduled deployment date is right after 1 month, because I set it as 30 days schedule, and few other fields over here which are included in the build state, build started, build completed, and the accuracy level is around 94.4% at this point of time. So it has given me all of this information. I'm going to go ahead and close the email, and if I return back to my machine learning model Foundry window over here and go ahead and click refresh, right now it was deployment in progress. Let's go ahead and refresh, and it should change to ready to use. It's already enabled. I can change the configuration at any point of time by going to configure. I'm going to go ahead and click close. If I go back to SageMaker at this point of time and navigate to deployment and inference, let's see what has been deployed. So AgilePoint took all that information about the best selected model which AWS SageMaker identified, prepared the deployment instructions, sent it back to SageMaker, and there's a model which is available under the deployable models, and it's the best selected model, which is college enroll, this one. If I go to endpoint configuration, there's an endpoint configuration which has been created as well, and an endpoint has been provisioned, and it is in service at this point of time. So everything looks good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my process model. Now you see, right now I do not have any AI control tower. I'm going to show you what happens after this is ready to use. So I'm going to drag and drop a prediction adapt flow 1. You can give a nice looking name to this. Now, because the model itself is aware of the machine learning model Foundry has created a machine learning model, it is available to me. So this is an extra pop-up which you see compared to a regular AI control tower. I'm going to go ahead and select that model, click OK. And the effect of this is, because I remember I mapped the two variables which was in the optional step, because I did that, everything is pre-configured for me. So it has already selected the model, the endpoint. The triggering event, I still have to tell what would be my triggering event. The triggering event could be, in this particular case, I want to trigger it when the student enrollment step is completed. I can set up my trigger condition. The request is already mapped for me with all the variables over here. And if I go to response, because I set up those two variables, it has mapped it already for me. And finally, I can configure the action I want to take. In my case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a rule where I will say if label is equal to true, that means this is a good candidate, and eligibility score is greater than or equal to maybe say 85%, I want it to directly go for Dean approval. So I'm going to go ahead and select Dean approval from here. Next, I'm going to add one more condition. I'll just say eligible candidate, not eligible. In case it is not eligible, so I'm going to say if label is coming in as false and probability of it being a bad candidate is more than 70%, I want it to be auto rejected. So I'm going to go ahead and send it to maybe one of the rejection notifications. Else, I want the happy path process to go ahead. So I'm going to send it to HOD approval. Let's go ahead and click save. So as you can see, a lot of heavy lifting was already done for me. All I configured was which event would trigger the AI control tower and what action I want to take. Rest of the mapping was already done. I'm going to go ahead and click finish. Now that easily I could add a machine learning model on top of my existing AgilePoint process. I went from using all the collected data, went ahead, auto deployed the machine learning model, and it helped me configure the control tower as well. I'm going to go ahead and click save and check in, publish. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up Work Center. And I'm going to submit a college enrollment application. The candidate I'm going to select is John Smith. And as you can see, based on the information over here, his grades are pretty good. Family income is pretty good as well. So it looks like a good candidate. I'm going to go ahead and click submit. And if I go to inbox, processes, look at the running process, and open it in a new tab so you guys can see it better. As you can see, as soon as I submitted the enrollment application, the AI control tower executed and it instructed to skip the HOD approval step and directly go to Dean approval step. I can even, in the adaptive process orchestration viewer, I can even see the results as well. So as you can see over here, the AI control tower was executed successfully. And if I have permission, it is telling me what was the data sent and what was the data returned back. So it is telling me over here that there is a 90% probability of this being a good candidate. So with this, we come to the end of this video. As you can see, machine learning model Foundry is a very important module in the AI journey where it can take the data which has been collected by existing AgilePoint processes and automate the creation as well as retraining of a machine learning model. Thanks a lot for your time.